Aubrey Lawson stood on the icy steps outside the Manhattan Civil Court, clutching the divorce papers that still smelled like the lawyer's printer ink. The wind cut through her thin coat, but nothing felt as cold as the silence that now wrapped her life. She had signed away a marriage she once believed would last forever, a marriage to Jason Mercer, the charming CEO who knew exactly how to shine in public and how to crush in private. The taxi she tried to call wouldn't come. Her phone battery blinked red, mocking her. She walked instead, every step echoing through the steel canyons of Midtown. Her stomach twisted not from hunger, but from a strange nausea she'd been ignoring for weeks. She blamed stress, sleepless nights, and the way Jason's final words kept replaying. "You were holding me back." She didn't cry. Not here. Not in front of the revolving doors of the tower where Jason's upcoming IPO was plastered on every LED screen. She had already given him too much. By the time she reached her tiny sublet bare walls, broken heater, a single lamp, her legs shook. She tossed the divorce envelope onto the table, but something else caught her eye. The unopened white packet from Midtown Health Clinic. The test she took after collapsing at work. She hadn't had the courage to open it earlier. Her fingers trembled as she tore the seal. She slid the paper out, reading line by line until the words blurred. Positive. Pregnant. Aubrey's knees buckled. She dropped onto the cold wooden floor, both hands covering her mouth as a sound escaped her, half sob, half disbelief. After everything Jason had done, after the betrayal, the humiliation, the silence, she was carrying his child. The room spun. The nausea hit again, harder this time. She reached for her phone, but the screen finally went black. No battery, no one to call, no one waiting. Her breath broke. Tears, hot, confused, uncontrollable, finally spilled. She pressed a hand over her stomach as if trying to protect a life she hadn't planned, a life that arrived at the worst possible moment. And then came the emotion she feared most. What if Jason thinks I'm lying? What if he thinks I'm trying to ruin his IPO? Her heart pounded painfully as her vision blurred. Because outside her window, a black Mercedes she recognized too well had just pulled up Jason's car, and he never came without a reason. Aubrey froze when she saw the familiar black Mercedes idling under the street lamp. Exhaust curled into the cold air like a whispered warning. Jason never came unannounced. Not after the divorce. Not after he made it clear she was an inconvenience he needed to detach from. Her pulse hammered as she wiped her tears with the back of her sleeve. She didn't want him to see her like this, broken, alone, terrified at the future unfolding inside her body. A sharp knock rattled her apartment door. "Aubrey, open up." Jason's voice cut through the thin wood, crisp and commanding, like he was calling an employee into his office. She swallowed the tremble in her throat, dragged herself up, and cracked the door open an inch. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. Jason pushed the door wider without waiting for permission, stepping inside with that same tailored confidence he wore on financial magazine covers. His coat was still dusted with snowflakes. His cologne filled the cramped apartment instantly, suffocating in the small space. "What happened at the courthouse today?" he asked, brushing past her. "You left before we discussed the PR guidelines." PR guidelines. He still talked that way, like she was an image to manage, not a person he'd once vowed to love. "I didn't think there was anything left to say," Aubrey replied quietly. Jason scanned the apartment, taking in the peeling paint, the flickering lamp, the boxes stacked in the corner. Disapproval tightened his jaw. "You're living here now? It's temporary. It looks like a health hazard." Aubrey felt the sting, but she straightened her back. "It's what I can afford right now." Jason sighed, pulling off his gloves. "Look, the IPO is in 8 weeks. Any noise, any rumor could hurt the valuation. I need to know you're stable." The word hit her like a slap. Stable. As if he expected her to fall apart, to make a spectacle, to sabotage him by existing. "I'm fine," she said, though her voice wavered. He studied her face then, the redness around her eyes, the tremble in her hands. "You've been crying." She looked away. "It's been a long day." He exhaled sharply. "Aubrey, if you're planning on doing something dramatic, I need to know." Her chest tightened. He didn't come to check on her. He came to protect himself. "Jason," she murmured, "I'm not the threat in this story." He stepped closer, his voice lowering. "Then prove it. Don't give the press anything to twist. No emotional posts, no statements, No talking to former colleagues, especially not the ones who know about our private issues. Her fingers dug into her palms. He had hurt her in more ways than she could count, and yet he still believed he had the right to dictate her every move. She felt the folded clinic paper in her pocket. It felt heavier than a brick. There were a million ways she could tell him. She could whisper it. She could scream it. She could hand him the paper and watch the color drain from his face. But all she managed was, "Jason, something happened today." He frowned. "What now?" Her lips parted. The words hovered. But before she could speak, a ringtone pierced the air, Jason's phone, vibrating sharply. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted into something like panic. "I have to take this," he muttered, stepping toward the door. Aubrey stared at him. "You're leaving? It's urgent. Don't do anything stupid, Aubrey. We'll talk later." He left without waiting for her answer, the door slamming behind him. Aubrey pressed a hand to her stomach, breath shaking. Because the name she saw flash on his caller ID was one she never expected, and it would change everything. Aubrey stood frozen in her dim apartment long after Jason's footsteps faded down the stairwell. The silence he left behind felt sharper than his words. Her fingers curled around the clinic paper in her pocket, wrinkling it. She had been seconds away from telling him seconds. But the moment his phone lit up, everything changed. She didn't mean to look. But the screen was angled directly toward her, and she saw it clearly. Declan Hayes. The name startled her. Declan Hayes wasn't a casual contact. He wasn't a friend Jason bantered with. He wasn't even someone Jason trusted. Declan was the CEO of Titan Financial Technologies, a man known on Wall Street for being unshakable, principled, and terrifyingly sharp. If Declan was calling, something serious had happened. And Jason's face, she had never seen him look afraid before. Aubrey slumped onto the edge of her bed, confusion swirling through her like smoke. Why would Declan call Jason at that exact moment? What could possibly connect a high-profile CEO with the man who had spent 2 years hiding their failing marriage? Her stomach tightened. She pressed a hand against it, breathing slowly. "You're okay," she whispered. "We're okay." But her body didn't feel okay. Exhaustion seeped into her bones, the kind that came from too many battles fought alone. Her phone, dead earlier, now flickered to life after being plugged in. Notifications flooded the screen. Emails, missed calls from an unknown number, a message from her former coworker, Danny. "Aubrey, something's going on at Mercer Tech. Call me." Her heart thudded. Mercer Tech, Jason's company, was supposed to go public soon. Any crisis now could destroy everything he'd built. For a small, shameful moment, she felt satisfaction. But it was buried beneath worry, confusion, and the heavier truth she carried inside her. She called Danny back. The line clicked. "Thank God," Danny whispered. "Listen, I don't know what you two are going through, but Declan Hayes just requested access to your old financial models, the ones you built before Jason pushed you out." A cold pulse shot down Aubrey's spine. Why would he need those? No idea, but it's big. The board is scrambling. Jason's in full meltdown mode. Aubrey's breath caught. Declan Hayes wasn't just calling Jason. He was hunting something Jason desperately didn't want found. And if it involved her old work, if her models didn't match the numbers used now, if her data proved Jason manipulated projections to inflate IPO value, it would be catastrophic for him, for the company, for anyone tied to it. "Aubrey," Danny's voice trembled. "You should stay low. If Jason panics, he might come after you again." Aubrey closed her eyes. She didn't have the strength for another storm. When she hung up, her apartment felt smaller, the shadows stretching longer. She dropped her clinic results onto the table. The bold words stared back at her. Pregnant. A life depended on her now. A life Jason would weaponize if it meant saving himself. She felt it in her bones. She had to be careful. A soft knock startled her. She stiffened. Jason wouldn't knock softly. Jason wouldn't knock twice. The second knock came gentle, controlled, steady. "Aubrey Lawson?" A deep voice called through the door. "My name is Declan Hayes. We need to talk." "Okay." End quote. Aubrey froze because the man Jason feared most was now standing outside her door. Aubrey's breath hitched as she stared at the door. Declan Hayes. The name alone carried weight. Cold boardrooms, billion-dollar negotiations, headlines about integrity and ruthless precision. A man like him did not simply show up at the apartment of a newly divorced analyst living in a run-down sublet. She wiped her palms on her jeans, fighting the tremor in her fingers. For a second, she wondered if she imagined it, if stress and nausea were playing tricks on her. But then he spoke again, voice even, low, unmistakably real. "Aubrey, I promise I'm not here to cause trouble, but something came across my desk tonight that concerns you." Her heartbeat thudded painfully. She opened the door a cautious few inches. Declan stood in the hallway, tall and composed in a charcoal coat dusted with snow. His expression wasn't cold, just observant, like he was taking in everything without judgment. His eyes flicked briefly to her pale face, the worn apartment behind her, the way she gripped the door as if it were the only solid thing left. "Mr. Hayes," she managed, voice thin. "It's late." "It is," he agreed. "Which is why I'm here. This couldn't wait until morning." A fear she didn't recognize crawled up her spine. "Did Jason send you?" "No," Declan said immediately, and something in his tone steady, firm cut through her panic. "Jason has no idea I'm here." That alone both relieved and terrified her. "May I come in?" he asked. Aubrey hesitated. But something in his eyes, not pity, not intrusion, but a quiet seriousness made her step aside. Declan entered, scanning the room without the disdain Jason had shown earlier. He noticed the unopened boxes, the flickering lamp, the clinic paper on the table. He didn't comment on any of it. Instead, he waited until she shut the door, then spoke gently. "I'm aware that you left Mercer Tech under tense circumstances." Aubrey swallowed hard. "Is that what Jason told you?" His expression shifted barely, but enough. "Jason hasn't told me anything tonight. But certain financial inconsistencies tied to your former work have surfaced." "Inconsistencies he can't explain." She blinked. "My work?" "Yes, the projection models you built 18 months ago." He paused. "The ones that were replaced shortly before you were pushed out." Her knees nearly buckled. She grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. "What does that have to do with me?" she whispered. "Possibly everything," Declan replied. "Your original numbers were clean, precise. But the updated versions, ones attributed to your name, were manipulated. Aggressively." A chill ran through her. She felt sick. "You're saying Jason altered them?" "I'm saying someone did," Declan said. "And Jason stands to gain the most if no one questions them." Her vision blurred. She thought she might faint. Declan stepped forward slightly, not touching her, just grounding the space. "Aubrey, listen carefully. If those falsified models get traced back to you, you could be held responsible. Jason would be cleared. You would be destroyed." Her breath shattered in her chest. "But," Declan continued, "there's something else." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small sealed envelope. "This was sent to my office anonymously," he said. "It contains internal emails between Jason and someone named Sienna Brooks, discussing ways to force you out before the IPO." Aubrey's stomach twisted violently. "Sienna, of course." She stared at the envelope like it was a bomb. "I thought you should see it before your name is pulled into something dangerous," Declan said softly. "I don't know what Jason is planning, but I know he's desperate." Aubrey's throat closed. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall, not in front of him. "Why? Why would you help me?" she whispered. Declan hesitated, and for the first time, something vulnerable passed through his expression. "Because 6 years ago," he said quietly, "Jason lied to me too. And someone innocent paid the price." Aubrey's blood ran cold. He stepped back toward the door. "I'll return tomorrow, but Aubrey, be careful tonight." He turned to leave. And that's when her phone buzzed violently on the table. A message from an unknown number. "If you talk to Declan again, you won't keep your little secret for long." Aubrey's breath stopped, because the message was followed by a second one. A photo of her clinic results. Someone else knew she was pregnant. Aubrey's hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. The clinic results glaring back at her in the photo were unmistakable. Her name, the date, the word positive, circled in red. Only she had opened that envelope. Only she had seen it. Someone had been watching her. Someone had gotten close enough to steal information she hadn't shared with a single soul. Her stomach clenched protectively, instinctively. She set the phone down as if it were burning her. The apartment walls seemed to shrink, trapping her with the cold hum of the refrigerator and the ghost of Jason's cologne still lingering from earlier. Her breath came out uneven, shallow, Who knows, she whispered to the empty room. The most obvious answer was Jason. But Jason hadn't seemed to know earlier. His shock at court, his focus on PR, his self-interest, none of it pointed to him uncovering her pregnancy yet. If he had known, he would have weaponized it instantly. But Sienna had a talent for digging, twisting, and hurting without leaving fingerprints. Aubrey picked up the phone again, forcing herself to stare at the message. If you talk to Declan again, you won't keep your little secret for long. Her pulse hammered against her ribs. This wasn't a warning, it was leverage. Someone wanted her scared, isolated, silenced. A cold realization washed over her. Jason had always known how to destroy her emotionally, but Sienna knew how to destroy her publicly. And an exposed pregnancy at this stage, pitched as manipulation before a massive IPO, could ruin Aubrey's reputation permanently. Aubrey sank into the chair as dizziness washed over her. Stress twisted her stomach, sharp and unforgiving. She grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself, breathing through the pain. Not now. She couldn't break now. She needed to think. She grabbed her laptop and opened her email. Maybe the anonymous sender who delivered evidence to Declan had also tried to contact her. But her inbox was flooded hundreds of unread messages, some from reporters, some from colleagues, more than she'd ever seen. Her old work had surfaced again. One subject line froze her. We need to talk. It's about Mercertech's numbers. The sender. Internal audit at Mercertech. Her heart lurched. Internal audit never contacted ex-employees. Ever. She clicked the email with trembling fingers. But instead of a message, the screen glitched, static lines flickering across her display. The message vanished. A new screen appeared, black with white text. Stay quiet, Aubrey. You won't get a second warning. Her breath caught. Someone had hacked her laptop. Someone inside Mercertech or connected to it had access to systems far beyond Jason's control. Fear clawed up her spine. She shut the computer forcefully and backed away from it as if it were alive. A sudden knock made her jump. Not gentle, not hesitant. 3 sharp bangs, authoritative, impatient. Aubrey's pulse raced. What if it was Jason? What if he somehow found out Declan had been here? What if the threats had escalated? Her chest tightened painfully as she moved toward the door. She stood still, barely breathing. Another knock, harder this time. Aubrey, open up, now. Her blood turned to ice. It wasn't Jason's voice. It was deeper. Official, cold. She forced herself to look through the peephole. A man in a dark suit, badge on his belt, stern expression. Miss Lawson, he called. I'm Investigator Holt with the SEC. We have questions about your involvement in Mercertech's financial irregularities. Aubrey's knees nearly gave out. The nightmare had arrived at her door, and it was wearing a federal badge. Aubrey's throat tightened as she stared through the peephole. The man outside didn't look like someone who could be argued with. He looked like someone whose job was to dismantle corporations and people with a few questions. Her mind raced. If she didn't open the door, would it look like she was hiding? If she did open it, could something she said be twisted against her? But the investigator's expression was patient, not aggressive. This wasn't a raid. This was the beginning of something bigger, something she had unknowingly been dragged into. Her hand shook as she unlocked the door. Miss Lawson, the man said, flipping open his badge again. I'm Investigator Holt, SEC Financial Crimes Division. Aubrey swallowed hard. I didn't do anything. Holt nodded calmly. That's what we're trying to determine. May I come in? She didn't want him to see her cramped apartment, the clinic results on the table, her trembling hands, her entire life unraveling. But refusing wouldn't help. She stepped aside. Holt entered, scanning the room with professional neutrality. He didn't linger on anything except her laptop, still open, still showing the black screen with the threatening message. Did you write that? Holt asked. No, she whispered. It popped up after an email from Mercertech disappeared. Holt's eyes sharpened. Someone wiped it remotely? I think so. He crouched slightly to inspect the laptop without touching it. This is more sophisticated than Jason Mercer could manage. Someone with system-level access did this. The room tilted slightly. Am I in trouble? Holt stood, his tone softening just enough to be human. We aren't here to arrest you. We're here because your name appears on several falsified models used to inflate Mercertech's valuation. If Mercer Tech goes public with those numbers, investors will lose hundreds of millions. The SEC needs to know if you participated knowingly. Aubrey's breath broke. I didn't. I swear I didn't. They replaced my work after they forced me out. I didn't change a single number. Holt watched her, really watched her, as if weighing the truth inside her words. I believe you, he said finally. But belief isn't evidence. Aubrey pressed a hand over her eyes. I don't know how to prove anything. Jason had access to everything. Jason isn't the only concern, Holt said. We have indications that someone else inside Mercer Tech is erasing digital trails, covering their tracks. If you have any emails, files, backups— I don't, she whispered. I barely have power most days. I don't even have health insurance anymore. His eyes softened, briefly. Miss Lawson, why did you leave the company? She hesitated. Because Jason asked me to. And then he made sure I couldn't stay. And why did your marriage end? The question hit like a punch. Because Jason needed someone to blame for his failures, and I was convenient. Holt exhaled slowly. That fits everything we've seen so far. Aubrey blinked. Everything you've seen? Before he could answer, a sharp buzz erupted from his phone. Holt read the message, and for the first time his controlled facade cracked. He looked at Aubrey with urgency. Miss Lawson, do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight? Somewhere Jason doesn't know about? She froze. Why? What happened? Holt pocketed his phone and moved toward the door. We just intercepted internal communications from Mercer Tech. Someone there issued an order 20 minutes ago to neutralize external risk factors before federal review. Aubrey's breath stopped. Neutralize? Holt met her eyes with grim seriousness. That means you, Miss Lawson. Someone inside Mercer Tech wants you silenced. Aubrey's knees buckled. And then, a window shattered in the kitchen. Someone was already inside the building. The shatter of glass cracked through the apartment like a gunshot. Aubrey screamed and stumbled backward, instinctively shielding her stomach with both arms. Investigator Holt spun toward the kitchen, hand already reaching inside his coat, not for a weapon, but for something she couldn't see. His voice dropped to a low command. Stay behind me. Do not move. Aubrey's breath came out in broken bursts. Who's in here? Holt didn't answer. His posture sharpened, every muscle coiled. Through the kitchen doorway, cold wind swept into the apartment, carrying tiny crystals of broken glass across the floor. The window had been punched inward not by a rock, but by something heavier. Someone meant to enter. A dark shape shifted beyond the sill. Holt stepped forward slowly, controlled. This is federal jurisdiction, he warned, voice firm. Identify yourself. No reply. Instead, a gloved hand gripped the windowsill. Aubrey's heart slammed against her ribs. Whoever it was moved with deliberate silence, as if trained for this. Not some random intruder, not a burglar, someone with purpose, someone trying to get in. Holt subtly angled himself between Aubrey and the entry point. Miss Lawson, listen to me. Walk to the front door, quietly. Her throat closed. I can't. Yes, you can. Now. She forced her trembling legs to move. Each step felt like wading through thick mud. Her hand reached for the doorknob just as the shadow slipped fully into the kitchen, a tall figure dressed in black, face obscured. The intruder's eyes darted to her first, then to Holt. Then he lunged. Holt intercepted him halfway across the room, the two crashing into the small kitchen table, sending the lamp and clinic envelope scattering across the floor. Aubrey cried out. The man shoved Holt hard, trying to break past him, heading straight for her. No, she choked, stumbling backward. Holt recovered fast, grabbing the intruder's arm and twisting. The man hissed, swung an elbow, and slammed Holt into the counter. The force made the investigator groan, but he didn't let go. Aubrey backed toward the door, fumbling with the lock as the two men fought in the cramped space. Every crash felt louder, closer. Fear pulsed through her in waves, but she forced herself not to freeze. Then the intruder broke free. He sprinted toward her. Aubrey's vision tunneled. She shoved at the door, but the old lock jammed. Her breath hitched, panic clawing at her throat. The man was 10 feet away. 8. 6. Something in Aubrey snapped awake. She grabbed the nearest object, a heavy MacBook sitting on her table, and hurled it with every ounce of strength she had. It hit him square in the shoulder. He staggered. It bought Holt just enough time to tackle him from behind. They crashed again, this time knocking over a chair with a violent crack. "Run!" Holt barked. "Get out, now!" Aubrey yanked the door open and stumbled into the hallway. Her breath was fire in her chest. Her legs shook violently, but she forced herself to move, gripping the railing as she fled down the stairs. Behind her, she heard the intruder escape Holt's hold. Footsteps pounded toward the hallway. She pushed through the building's exit into the freezing night. A black SUV idled at the curb. Its back door swung open. "Aubrey Lawson," a calm voice called from inside. "Get in. Now." She froze. She knew that voice. It was Declan Hayes, and he was not alone in the car. Aubrey stood frozen on the sidewalk, her breath steaming in the cold night air. The black SUV loomed like a shadow with headlights dimmed, engine humming low. Declan Hayes leaned forward just enough for her to see his face, calm, controlled, carved with the kind of authority that didn't need raising its voice. "Aubrey," he repeated, firmer this time. "Get in the car." She didn't move. Every survival instinct in her body screamed at her to run in the opposite direction. Behind her, the stairwell door burst open, heavy footsteps pounding down. The intruder was coming. Declan pushed open the back door wider. Now Aubrey. Her heart lurched. She made the only choice she had. She dove into the back seat just as Holt stumbled out of the building, shouting her name. But before he reached her, the SUV peeled away from the curb. "Wait," she cried. "Investigator Holt, he helped me." Deportation. Declan didn't look back. "He'll be fine." "How do you know?" "Because the man who broke into your apartment wasn't after him," Declan said quietly. "He was after you." Aubrey's chest tightened, breath uneven. "Why? Why me? I haven't done anything." A voice she didn't recognize answered from the passenger seat. "Actually, Miss Lawson, you've done more than you realize." Aubrey jerked forward. A woman turned around to face her late 40s, sharp eyes, crisp navy suit. Federal, unmistakably. "Who are you?" "I'm Special Agent Rowan with the Department of Justice," the woman said. "And you are now officially a person of interest in the Mercer Tech investigation." Aubrey's stomach dropped. No, you don't understand. I didn't manipulate anything." Jason Mercer is not our priority," Rowan interrupted. "The data breach, the financial alterations, the attempted break-in tonight, those point to something bigger." Aubrey shook her head desperately. "You think I'm involved?" "No," Declan said, finally meeting her eyes in the rearview mirror. "They think you're leverage." Rowan nodded. "Whoever altered those financial models knows you're the only person who can prove the original numbers. That makes you a threat. And a target." Aubrey pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. "I can't do this. I can barely keep myself together." "Then let us keep you safe," Declan said. His voice was steady but carried an intensity that cut through her panic. "You shouldn't have been alone tonight. I should have realized sooner." "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you helping me like this?" Declan hesitated. "Because the last person Jason hurt didn't survive it." Aubrey stared at him, stunned. "What?" Rowan shot him a warning look, but Declan continued. 6 years ago, Jason falsified numbers on a joint venture. A junior analyst tried to expose it. Jason destroyed her professionally and personally. She didn't make it through the fallout. Aubrey's breath caught painfully. "Why didn't anyone stop him?" "Because no one had evidence," Declan said. "Until now." Her pulse thudded. "What evidence?" Rowan reached into her coat and placed a sealed folder in Aubrey's lap. "You're not the only one someone's been watching," she said. 3 hours ago, an anonymous source sent us a data dump. Emails, audio recordings, transfer logs. Enough to implicate multiple executives. Aubrey clutched the folder like it might explode. What does this have to do with me?" Rowan exhaled. "Everything points to one conclusion. Someone inside Mercer Tech wants to blame you before the truth comes out. And someone else," Declan added, eyes darkening, "wants you alive long enough to testify." The SUV turned sharply, heading toward the FDR ramp. Aubrey glanced out the back window. A second black SUV was following them. And closing in. Declan's jaw tightened. "Buckle up, Aubrey." "Why?" she whispered. "Because that's not one of ours." And the SUV behind them suddenly accelerated. Aubrey braced both hands on the seat as the SUV lurched forward, speeding onto the FDR. The Manhattan skyline blurred past her window, cold, silver, and indifferent. Her pulse pounded loud enough to drown out the engine. "Why are they following us?" she whispered. Agent Rowan glanced behind them, jaw clenched. Because someone realized Aubrey didn't die in that apartment. Declan tightened his grip on the wheel. "Hold on." The pursuing SUV accelerated, closing the distance with predatory precision. Its headlights flashed once, twice, as if signaling something. Aubrey's breath hitched. "Are they trying to force us off the road?" "Not yet," Rowan muttered. "They're assessing." "Assessing what? Whether we're armed or alone?" Declan changed lanes sharply. The pursuing vehicle mirrored him instantly. Rowan cursed under her breath. "That's not some hired thug," she said. "That's a team." Aubrey felt the words like ice water down her spine. A team with training, coordination, and a mission. "Why me?" she whispered. "I'm nobody." Declan's voice cut through the panic. "You're the only person who can prove which numbers are real and which were altered. And whoever's behind the IPO fraud needs someone to take the fall. T4. But why kill me?" Rowan turned fully in her seat, meeting Aubrey's eyes. "Because a dead suspect can't defend herself. Or talk." Aubrey swallowed a sob. She pressed her hand protectively to her stomach. The child she hadn't even processed yet. The life she barely had time to feel. Declan's gaze flicked to the rearview mirror. "They're getting too close." The pursuing SUV surged forward, tapping the rear bumper of their vehicle. The impact jolted Aubrey forward, her seatbelt digging hard into her shoulder. "Declan," she cried. "I see them," he said through clenched teeth. Rowan grabbed the overhead handle, bracing herself. "They're trying to destabilize us." Another hit harder this time. The SUV fishtailed before. Declan straightened it out again. Aubrey's heart hammered wildly. "Call Holt. Call anyone." "I already did," Rowan said. "Backup's on the way, but we have to stay alive until they reach us." "It is up." The SUV behind them accelerated once more, this time pulling alongside instead of behind. Its tinted window rolled down slowly. A masked driver turned his head toward them and raised a device. Rowan inhaled sharply. "Declan EMP jammer." Before Aubrey could process, the lights on the dashboard flickered. Power dipped. The steering stiffened. "Don't lose control," Rowan warned. "I'm trying," Declan gritted out. The pursuing SUV edged closer, trying to force them against the barrier separating them from the East River. Water glistened ominously below. Aubrey's breath broke. "Please don't let us go over." "Not happening," Declan snapped, yanking the wheel. The SUV swerved, barely avoiding the concrete divider. Horns blared around them as other cars scattered. Rowan unbuckled, steadying herself. "Aubrey, listen to me. If we crash, curl your body forward, protect your abdomen. Do you understand?" Aubrey nodded shakily, tears blurring her vision. "I'm scared." "I know," Rowan said. "But you're stronger than you think." Declan's jaw tightened. "Time's up. They're preparing to pit maneuver us." "How do you know?" Rowan asked. "Because I would," Declan said. And then it happened. The pursuing SUV slammed into their side full force. The world spun. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. Aubrey's scream was swallowed by the violent roll of the SUV flipping. 1, 2, 3 times. When the vehicle finally skidded to a stop, upside down, the world was silent. Smoke drifted through shattered windows. Aubrey dangled in her seatbelt, dizzy, choking on dust. Rowan coughed. "Declan, are you conscious?" No answer. Aubrey tried to reach him, but her head throbbed violently. Her fingers brushed a shard of glass. The sound of footsteps crunched outside. Slow, deliberate. A shadow crouched beside the broken window. A gloved hand reached in toward Aubrey's throat, and she realized they weren't here to kidnap her. They were here to finish the job. Upside down, half-conscious, and choking on the metallic taste of fear, Aubrey could barely make out the intruder's silhouette crouching beside the shattered window of the overturned SUV. The world spun in fractured reflections, broken glass, twisted metal, her own terrified face mirrored back at her. His gloved hand reached toward her throat with calm precision. Not rushed. Not panicked. Professional. Aubrey's breath stuttered. Her hands curled protectively over her stomach. "Please don't." He didn't react to her voice at all. As if she were already a corpse, he was cleaning up. Rowan coughed from the front seat, trying to unbuckle herself. "Don't touch her," she rasped, but but her voice was weak, fading. The man reached further in. Aubrey felt his fingertips brush her neck. Something primal erupted inside her, fear, mixed with a sudden, fierce protectiveness she didn't know she possessed. Without thinking, she grabbed the shard of glass near her hand and slashed upward. It sliced across his wrist. He hissed under his breath, jerking back, not in pain, but in annoyance. "Aubrey," Rowan gasped. "Get out now." But Aubrey's seatbelt had jammed. Her trembling fingers scrambled for the buckle, but it wouldn't release. Panic closed around her throat. The intruder grabbed the doorframe and yanked, trying to force the SUV open wider. That's when a sound tore through the night, an engine, accelerating fast. Headlights flared behind them. A second SUV. For a split second, Aubrey's heart soared back up. Holt? Someone from the DOJ? Then the vehicle screeched to a stop beside the wreck. A woman stepped out. Tall, ice-blonde hair, perfectly pressed coat. Sienna Brooks. Aubrey's blood froze. Sienna's expression didn't show fear or shock or concern. Instead, she looked irritated, like someone whose evening plans had been mildly inconvenienced. "Well?" she snapped at the intruder. "Why isn't she dead yet?" Aubrey's vision pulsed. Rowan cursed under her breath. "You've got to be kidding me," Rowan whispered. "She's involved?" Involved was an understatement. Sienna walked closer, her heels crunching over broken glass. "We don't have time for mistakes," she said sharply. "Federal eyes are everywhere tonight. Finish it and let's go." The intruder nodded once and reached again toward Aubrey. "No!" Aubrey cried, thrashing, fighting the locked belt. Sienna crouched beside the window, tilting her head in mock pity. "You never were smart enough to stay quiet, Aubrey. Jason thought you'd break sooner, but I suppose even weak girls have their stubborn moments." Her words sliced deeper than any glass could. Aubrey glared up at her. "Why are you doing this?" "I never did anything to you." Sienna smirked. "You existed. That's enough." Aubrey's chest heaved. The baby fluttered desperately inside her, a terrifying reminder she wasn't fighting only for herself. Rowan finally freed one arm and slammed her elbow against the divider, trying to draw attention. "Back away from her, Sienna. You're making a federal case for murder, conspiracy." Sienna laughed softly. "Oh, please. By the time anyone investigates, the IPO will have closed and Mercer Tech will be untouchable. You people always act too late." She turned to the intruder. "Do it." He reached for Aubrey again, and then a hand shot through the broken driver's window, yanking him backward so violently his body slammed against the asphalt. Aubrey gasped. Declan Hayes, bloodied, dazed, but very much alive, pulled himself out of the wreckage. His voice was a low, lethal growl. "Get away from her." "Is the Russian?" Sienna's eyes widened. The intruder lunged. Declan charged. The night exploded into chaos. And Aubrey, still upside down, seatbelt cutting into her, felt the SUV shift dangerously as something heavy slammed into it. Then she heard it. A click. Metal against metal. Someone had just cocked a gun, and the barrel was now aimed inside the SUV at her. The cold steel of the gun glinted through the shattered window, aimed directly at Aubrey's chest. Upside down, strapped in, dizzy with fear, she couldn't even lift her arms high enough to shield herself. Her breath came out in short, panicked bursts. "Don't," she whispered, voice cracking. "Please don't." Her words were drowned by the chaos outside. Declan grappled with the masked intruder, exchanging heavy blows on the pavement. The sound of fists hitting flesh echoed against the concrete barriers. Sienna backed away from the fight, pressing herself against her SUV, fumbling in her coat as if searching for something, her phone or another weapon. Agent Rowan, still trapped but conscious, twisted her body to get a better angle. "Aubrey, don't look at the gun, look at me." "I can't, he's going to kill me." "No," Rowan growled. "Not while I'm still breathing." But the gunman wasn't hesitating. He crouched lower, steadying his aim. His finger tightened on the trigger. Aubrey squeezed her eyes shut as tears slipped down her temples. Then, a deafening bang cracked the night. But the shot didn't hit her. Instead, the gunman jerked violently, staggering backward as a round slammed into his shoulder. The weapon clattered onto the asphalt. Aubrey gasped and reopened her eyes. Down the road, headlights flashed. Two unmarked vehicles screeched to a stop. Doors flew open. Investigator Holt emerged with 3 more SEC agents, guns drawn. "Federal agents," Holt shouted, "drop your weapons and stay where you are." Sienna paled. The confidence she wielded like a blade earlier vanished instantly. She took one shaky step backward. This isn't what it looks like. But one of the agents cut her off. "Miss Brooks, step away from the vehicle." Sienna froze, caught between running and collapsing. Meanwhile, Declan drove the masked intruder into the ground, pinning him with sheer force, even though blood streamed from a cut above his brow. His voice was ragged. "You don't touch her. You don't ever touch her." The intruder didn't respond. He'd gone limp. Holt ran to the overturned SUV. "Rowan, you good?" Bruised, trapped, and furious, Rowan hissed. "Get Aubrey out first." Holt crouched beside Aubrey's shattered window. "Miss Lawson, stay still. We're getting you out." But Aubrey wasn't listening. Her eyes were fixed on Sienna. The woman's hands trembled as agents encircled her. Her mask of composure cracked fine fractures, revealing something twisted beneath. "Aubrey," Sienna spat suddenly, voice shaking, "you ruined everything. Jason trusted you to disappear quietly. And you just kept surviving." Aubrey felt something inside her shift. Not fear this time. Resolve. "You tried to kill me," Aubrey said quietly. Sienna laughed a fractured, hysterical sound. "Oh, sweetheart, you don't even know the half of it." "T-Vis4." Rowan shouted from inside the SUV. "Holt, watch her, she's stalling." Too late. Sienna lunged toward the masked intruder's dropped gun. The nearest agent tackled her, but she managed to grab the weapon with one hand. She swung it upward, directly at Declan. Aubrey's scream tore from her throat. "Declan." Declan turned. Sienna pulled the trigger. A single shot exploded through the freezing air. And this time, it hit someone. The body collapsed to the pavement. Aubrey's vision blurred as she screamed, every part of her breaking. Because the person who fell wasn't Declan. It was Investigator Holt. For a moment, the world stopped moving. Holt lay on the pavement, a stark slash of red blooming across his shirt, steam rising from the wound in the freezing night air. The gunshot still echoed against the concrete pillars of the FDR. Aubrey felt the sound in her bones, felt it vibrate through her chest. Her breath broke into pieces. "No, no, no, no," she whispered, struggling against her jammed seatbelt. "Holt, Holt." Declan dropped to his knees beside the fallen investigator. "Stay with me," he said urgently, pressing his hands over the wound. "Holt, look at me, stay awake." Rowan, finally freed, half-crawled out of the overturned SUV and collapsed beside them. "Holt! Holt, don't you dare check out on me," she rasped, voice cracking. Holt coughed, blood on his lips. "I'm still here." Bite. Sienna, still pinned to the ground by agents, screamed incoherently as they tore the gun from her grasp. Her composure shattered completely, revealing a hysteria that was always lurking beneath the surface. "You idiots," Sienna shrieked. "You think she's innocent? She's the weak link. She ruined everything." Aubrey trembled. Her stomach tightened painfully, as if her body were protesting every surge of fear. Declan glanced toward her, noticing the way she clutched her abdomen. "We need EMs now," he barked at the nearest agent. "She's pregnant, she's in shock, and Holt needs immediate trauma care." Aubrey's world spun. She could hear her heart pounding too loudly, too fast. The cold air stabbed at her lungs. Her vision wavered. Pregnant. In danger. Bleeding men. Guns. Screaming. Her life cracking apart. "Aubrey," Rowan said, crawling toward her. "Look at me." Deep breaths. Slow. In through the nose. "I can't," Aubrey whispered. "I can't breathe. I can't." Declan moved to the window, his voice low but firm, anchoring. "Aubrey, stay with us. You're safe now. Do you hear me?" Safe. The word felt foreign. Sirens began to rise somewhere in the distance, growing louder, sharper. Agents swarmed the scene, cuffing Sienna, securing the intruder, stabilizing Holt as best they could. Rowan hovered over him, one hand gripping his shoulder, her jaw trembling though she refused to let tears fall. "You're not dying tonight," Rowan muttered through clenched teeth. "Not after everything we've worked for. Not after you saved her." Holt managed a faint, broken smile. "Was doing my job." Aubrey felt something inside her collapse. She pressed both hands harder against her abdomen. A wave of pain rippled through her deeper, sharper than before. Declan saw it instantly. "Aubrey, what is it?" "I don't know," she gasped. It hurts." "How bad?" Rowan asked, shifting toward her. Aubrey couldn't answer. Another wave hit strong enough to punch the breath from her lungs. Her hands trembled violently over her stomach. Declan's face went pale. "Rowan, is she?" Rowan's eyes widened. "She's having stress contractions. Get her out, now." Declan didn't hesitate. He crawled halfway into the overturned SUV, ignoring the glass cutting his hands. "Aubrey, I'm getting you out. Keep your eyes on me." She reached for him, her fingers cold, trembling. "I'm so scared," she whispered. "I know," he said softly. "But you're not alone." With one forceful pull, Declan tore the jammed seatbelt loose. He lifted Aubrey carefully, cradling her against him as he maneuvered through the broken frame of the SUV. She winced, gripping his coat. Sirens wailed louder, police, ambulances, federal vehicles converging. But above the noise, above the chaos, a new sound cut through. Declan's phone buzzing. He frowned, shifting Aubrey's weight so he could glance at the screen. A single text message. From Jason Mercer. 3 chilling words. "We need to talk." Aubrey felt her blood run cold. Because Jason should not have known she was still alive. Declan stared at the message glowing on his screen, his expression tightening in a way Aubrey had never seen before, fear sharpened into strategy. The freezing night wind whipped around them, carrying sirens and shouted commands, but that one text cut through everything. "We need to talk." Jason Mercer. Aubrey clung to Declan's coat, breath shallow. He shouldn't know I'm here. He shouldn't know anything. Rowan pushed herself upright, wincing as she checked Holt's pulse again. "He shouldn't even know she's alive," she muttered, "which means someone inside this scene is feeding him information." Aubrey's skin prickled. She looked around at the agents, the flashing lights, the organized chaos, all of them in uniforms, all of them supposedly on her side. But one phone call, one message, one whisper. The thought made her knees wobble. Declan tightened his arm around her. "Don't spiral, not now." "How can I not?" Aubrey whispered, voice trembling. "They tried to kill me. They tried to kill all of us." Rowan straightened, her expression going steel-hard despite the exhaustion dragging her shoulders down. "Declan, read the timestamp." He did. His eyes narrowed. "Sent 8 minutes ago." Aubrey's stomach dropped. 8 minutes ago. Before the chase ended, before the crash, before Holt took the bullet, Jason texted before anyone could have reported her survival. Which meant, he already knew, Aubrey choked. "He knew I'd make it out alive." Rowan shook her head. "Not exactly. He knew the mission didn't go as planned, which means he wasn't hoping you'd die tonight. He was expecting an update." "Masher." "From who?" Declan demanded. Rowan looked at Sienna, who was still screaming at the agents restraining her. "No," Aubrey whispered. "Sienna doesn't know enough for real-time updates. She only executes orders." Rowan's gaze sharpened. "Exactly. She's reckless, emotional, sloppy. Someone else is pulling the strings, someone above her." A cold dread crept up Aubrey's spine. "Jason?" "Maybe," Rowan said, "but Mercer Tech's financial fraud goes beyond Jason. There are executives, investors, board members, people with millions to lose. And someone with access to federal channels," Declan added grimly, glancing at the agents again. Aubrey suddenly felt more exposed than ever. An ambulance finally pulled up. Paramedics rushed toward them. "Ma'am," one of them said, "we need to get you and your baby checked immediately." Aubrey nodded weakly and allowed them to guide her toward the gurney. But as they lifted her, pain rippled again through her abdomen, a deep, wrenching pull that forced a cry from her lips. Declan moved instantly. "Is she going into labor?" "Not yet," the medic said, "but the contractions are stress-induced. We need to get her stable." Aubrey grabbed Declan's sleeve. "Don't leave me. You're not going anywhere alone," he said, and climbed into the ambulance with her. As the doors slammed shut, the world outside blurred into flashes of red and blue. Aubrey lay back, shivering under the blanket, every breath a fight. Declan sat beside her, jaw tight, hands bloodied. "When we get to the hospital, I'll call justice. I'll get a secured protection order. Jason won't." Aubrey cut him off with a hoarse whisper. "You don't know Jason like I do." Declan looked at her. "Then tell me." She stared at the ceiling, trembling. "He doesn't stop. Not when he wants something. Not when he's afraid. And definitely not when he's cornered." End quote. Declan's voice lowered. "He's already lost control." "No." Aubrey swallowed hard. "This is when he's most dangerous. Before Declan could respond, the medic's radio crackled. "Dispatch to Unit 12, be advised. Subject Jason Mercer has just entered Mercy General Hospital's main lobby, asking for patient information." Aubrey's blood turned to ice. Because that was the hospital they were being rushed to. The medic exchanged a horrified glance with Declan. Declan grabbed Aubrey's hand. "He's already there." And the ambulance was only 3 minutes away. The ambulance raced through Manhattan traffic, sirens slicing the night. Aubrey struggled to breathe evenly as another contraction tightened across her abdomen. Declan held her hand, thumb brushing gently across her knuckles, trying to ground her. But nothing could stop the cold dread settling in her spine. Jason was already at the hospital. "How did he even know where we were going?" Aubrey whispered, her voice trembling with exhaustion and fear. Declan's jaw tightened. "Someone fed him the information, someone tracking our movements. But he's not getting near you. You don't know him," Aubrey cut in, her breath ragged. "When he gets desperate, he becomes someone else." Declan didn't argue. His silence said he understood more than he let on. The medic leaned toward them. "We're taking you to a secure wing. Once we arrive, stay inside the trauma unit. Don't talk to anyone unless they show you DOJ clearance." Aubrey nodded weakly, though her mind raced. Her life had turned into a battleground. She looked down at her stomach, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Please hold on," she whispered to the baby. "Just a little longer." The ambulance slowed, pulling into Mercy General's emergency bay. As soon as the doors opened, cold air rushed in, along with 2 hospital security officers. "This way," one said, motioning urgently. "We've been told not to let anyone near Miss Lawson." Aubrey was lifted onto a gurney and rushed down a brightly lit hallway. The overhead lights flickered past like flashes from a camera, disorienting, relentless. Declan kept pace beside her. "Where's Rowan?" Aubrey asked, wincing. "Still at the scene," Declan said. "Holt's in critical condition. They're transferring him now." A wave of guilt washed over her. "This is all because of me." End quote. Declan stopped her with a firm, quiet look. "This is because of Jason, because he built his world on lies. Don't you dare carry the blame for his corruption." Aubrey blinked hard, fighting tears. They reached a private exam room. Nurses immediately surrounded her, placing monitors on her abdomen, checking her vitals, adjusting oxygen. Declan stepped back just enough to give them space, but his eyes never left her. The doctor entered a calm woman with steady hands. "Aubrey, your contractions are stress-induced. The baby's heartbeat is strong, but we need you resting. Absolutely no adrenaline spikes, no panic, no confrontation." Too late for that, Aubrey thought bleakly. As the room cleared slightly, Declan moved closer. "I'm staying right here." Before she could respond, a loud voice erupted in the hallway. "I need to see her, now." Aubrey's heart stopped. Jason. Every muscle in her body seized. Declan's face darkened. "He came straight here." And resocator. The doctor stiffened. "Security won't let him through." But Jason's voice grew louder, angrier. "I know she's in this wing. You can't keep me away from my ex-wife." Aubrey felt her pulse spike dangerously. Declan stepped closer to the door, posture tense. "He's not getting in." A crash sounded in the hallway, something metal hitting the floor. Then a scream. The doctor hurried toward the door. "Stay here." Aubrey grabbed Declan's sleeve. "He won't stop. He'll spin this as concern, as rights, as anything he needs. He'll manipulate everyone." Declan brushed a hand down her arm, gentle but steady. "Not tonight." But as he said it, the hallway fell abruptly silent. Too silent. Declan tensed. Something's wrong. Before he could move, the room's intercom clicked on with a soft buzz. A man's voice filled the room, smooth, calm, chilling. "Aubrey, it's me. We really do need to talk." Jason's voice. Inside her room? Inside the hospital's system. Aubrey's blood turned to ice. Declan lunged toward the intercom, shouting, "How did you patch into this line?" Jason chuckled softly. "I told you, Aubrey. You can't hide from me." Then the lights in the room went out. The emergency lights flickered on, dim, red, pulsing like a wounded heartbeat. Aubrey clutched the sheets, her breath shallow, her vision blurring at the edges. Every instinct screamed danger. Declan scanned the darkened room, muscles coiled, eyes sharp. "Aubrey, stay low," he whispered. Static crackled from the intercom again. "You always made things harder than they needed to be." Jason's smooth voice purred. If you had just signed the papers, none of this would have happened. Aubrey trembled. Jason, stop please. I'm in a hospital. I'm pregnant. Yes, Jason interrupted, voice tightening. And whose fault is that? Her stomach twisted painfully. Declan stepped protectively closer to her. Jason, you're done. The SEC has evidence. DOJ has your emails. Sienna is in custody. It's over. Jason laughed, a brittle, hysterical sound. You think Sienna was the mastermind? God, Declan, for a man who built an empire on analytics, you're incredibly naive. Aubrey's pulse spiked. What do you mean? You still don't get it, Jason said softly. Sienna's just a tool, disposable. Loud enough to take the fall. But the real work? The real strategy? A pause. Then? It was me, Aubrey. It was always me. Declan's jaw clenched. That's exactly what we needed you to say out loud. Jason chuckled darkly. Oh, this isn't being recorded. I bypassed the hospital's security system. Your precious agents can't hear a thing. Aubrey shivered. Then he added, but I can hear everything in your room. Declan cursed under his breath and slammed a fist against the intercom panel. It sparked uselessly. Aubrey whispered, Jason, why? Why go this far? Jason inhaled sharply. Because you were supposed to disappear. Because you owe me everything. Because you were nothing before me and you're trying to be something without me. That's not true, Aubrey whispered, tears burning her eyes. Yes, it is, he snapped. I built your career, your life, your stability. And you repay me by endangering my IPO? Declan stepped toward the door. Aubrey, I'm getting you out of here. If you must. But the door wouldn't budge. The electronic lock was dead. Jason had overridden everything. The intercom crackled again. You don't need to run, Declan. I'm not here to hurt you. Aubrey's breath faltered. Then what do you want? You, Jason said simply. And the child. Declan spun. Over my dead body. Oh, I expect you'll try, Jason taunted. But here's the thing, I'm not coming through the main entrance. Aubrey's stomach dropped. Jason wasn't only inside the hospital systems. He was inside the hospital. Declan's eyes darted to the air vents, the side service corridor, the secondary access panels. His body tensed. Aubrey, listen carefully. Get behind the exam table. Stay down. Do not move. But Aubrey was already shaking. Declan, what if he takes the baby? Declan knelt beside her, holding her trembling hands. He won't touch you. I swear it. A sudden metallic clang echoed above them. The air vent grate loosened. Aubrey gasped. Declan jumped to his feet just as the grate crashed onto the floor. A pair of boots appeared. Then hands. Then Jason Mercer dropped down into the darkened hospital room, like a man descending into his own kingdom. His eyes locked onto Aubrey instantly. He smiled. There you are. Declan positioned himself between them, voice low and lethal. You're not getting anywhere near her. Jason tilted his head, amused. I wasn't planning to ask permission. He reached inside his coat. Aubrey's heart stopped. When his hand emerged, he wasn't holding a weapon. He was holding her prenatal file, and as he flipped it open, casually reading the details he had no right to know, he murmured, You didn't tell me it was twins. Aubrey's world shattered. For a moment, Aubrey forgot how to breathe. Her world narrowed to one word, twins. A truth she had barely begun to accept herself, now weaponized in the hands of the man who had hunted her across a city, across a night, across every shred of safety she had left. Jason flipped casually through the pages of her prenatal file, as if reading a menu. 2 heartbeats, he murmured. 2 chances to rewrite my legacy. Aubrey shook her head violently, tears blurring her vision. They're not your legacy. They're my children. Jason's expression sharpened. They're mine too. And I will not let you raise them alone. Not after the damage you've caused. Declan stepped in front of her, every muscle coiled like a drawn wire. You're not taking anything from her. Not now. Not ever. Jason smirked. Spoken like a man who still thinks he has something to offer. Tell me, Declan, what exactly can you protect her from? You couldn't even keep your last analyst alive. The color drained from Declan's face, but his stance didn't waver. Aubrey saw the shift in him. Pain, anger. A wound he had buried deep, now ripped open. Jason wasn't just attacking her, he was dismantling Declan too, piece by piece. Declan's voice came out low. Don't you dare speak about her. Jason ignored him. His gaze drifted back to Aubrey. I offered you a chance to walk away quietly. To take a small settlement, disappear somewhere, and let the adults handle the IPO. But no, you wanted to fight. I didn't fight you, Aubrey whispered. You came after me. Again. Jason tilted his head as if genuinely confused. I protected myself. It's what winners do. Winners? Declan echoed, incredulous. You falsified numbers, hired thugs, tried to murder a federal agent, and nearly killed the mother of your children. Jason's eyes hardened. My children are the only thing I care about now. Something inside Aubrey shattered. You don't care about them. You care about control. Jason's voice rose quiet, shaking with a contained rage. If I lose this IPO, everything collapses. My board, my investors, my reputation gone. And if that happens, Aubrey, I promise you, I won't go down alone. A sudden, sharp contraction hit her stomach. She winced, grabbing the exam table for support. Jason took a step forward. Declan blocked him instantly. Jason sighed impatiently. Declan, move. She's clearly in distress. I'm trying to help her. You don't get near her, Declan growled. Jason's smile curled cruelly. You think she wants you? You think this little crisis makes you the hero? She will always be tied to me. Our children will tie her to me, even if she hates it. Aubrey's breathing grew ragged. You're sick. I'm determined, Jason corrected, and you should be thanking me. Without me, you're nothing. Suddenly, a monitor in the room beeped sharply. Aubrey swayed, vision darkening at the edges. Declan darted to her side. Aubrey, look at me. Stay with me. Jason stepped closer too. Aubrey, don't listen to him. I'm the father. You need me more than... Stop, she gasped. Just stop. But Jason didn't. His voice grew louder, desperate. You ruined everything I built. You cost me millions. You embarrassed me. Another contraction ripped through her, stronger, deeper. Her knees buckled. Declan caught her just before she hit the floor. We need a doctor, now. But alarms were still dead. Power unstable. Emergency systems strained. No staff came running. Aubrey clung to Declan's shirt, crying out in pain. Something's wrong, Declan. Something's wrong. Jason's eyes widened, not with concern, but with realization. If she delivers now, he murmured, I can petition for emergency custody. Declan snapped. Don't you touch her. Jason lunged toward them, and then the door behind him burst open. Floodlights, tactical gear, weapons drawn. Federal agents. Jason Mercer, get on the ground. In, with Mans. Aubrey sobbed in relief. Until she saw Jason reach into his coat again. Not for her file, not for his phone, but for something metallic. And he pointed it directly at Declan. Jason's hand moved with terrifying clarity, pulling something metallic from his coat, small, black, unmistakably lethal. Aubrey's scream tore from her throat as he lifted the weapon and aimed directly at Declan's chest. No, she cried, reaching out despite the pain ripping through her abdomen. Federal agents shouted commands at once. Drop the weapon. Jason Mercer, do not fire. On the ground now. But Jason barely seemed to hear them. His eyes were locked on Declan with the feverish intensity of a man who had already lost everything and needed someone to blame. You took everything from me, Jason hissed. Everything. Declan positioned himself between Jason and Aubrey, hands raised slightly, trying to keep Jason's attention off her. Put the gun down. Aubrey needs a doctor. This isn't the way. You don't get to say her name, Jason roared. Aubrey doubled over as another contraction tore through her, choking her sob. Declan, don't. He didn't look back at her because he couldn't afford to. Every move he made was calculated, deliberate. Jason, Declan said slowly, you shoot me, and the agents will drop you before you hit the floor. Then I'll take you with me, Jason said. Maybe that's the only justice left. Ad fora. Aubrey felt her chest tighten, breath shortening. The fetal monitor, running on backup power, beeped erratically beside her. Please, she cried, stop. The babies. Jason's face twisted. You think crying will save you? That's always been your strategy, Aubrey. Cry, play victim, make everyone feel sorry for you. Rowan, now in the doorway with 2 armed agents behind her, stepped forward. Jason, look at me. Put the weapon down. Jason didn't glance her way. No. She needs to understand what she's done. Aubrey's voice cracked. I didn't destroy your life. You did. It hit Jason like a slap. His hand trembled barely, but enough. Declan saw the shift. He moved an inch closer, voice low. You're cornered, Jason. Let this go. Jason's eyes flicked to him again. You think I'm cornered? Then he smiled, a broken, chilling curve of the lips. I still have leverage. He swung the gun toward Aubrey. Everything exploded into motion. No. Declan lunged. Shots fired. Glass shattered. Agents tackled Jason from behind, slamming him to the floor as the weapon skidded across the tiles. Jason screamed, kicking wildly as 3 federal officers pinned him down. Get off me. She's mine, she owls. His voice cut off as Rowan struck him across the jaw with her forearm, silencing him. Aubrey collapsed to her knees, gripping the exam bed, breath shaking violently. Declan dropped beside her. Are you hurt? Aubrey, look at me, are you hit? She shook her head, sobbing. No, but something's wrong. Oh God, Declan. Blood, not hers. On Declan's shirt, her heart stopped. Declan, she whispered, were you shot? He looked down, surprised, as if noticing it for the first time. The red stain spread slowly across his side. It's nothing, he said quietly. But his knees buckled. He fell forward, catching himself on one hand. Aubrey grabbed him, panic crushing her chest. No, stay with me, please. Agents swarmed around Jason, cuffing him, dragging him out as he thrashed and shouted, but the world shrank to the man bleeding in her arms. Declan looked up at her, breath shallow. Aubrey, you're safe. That's what matters. She shook her head violently, tears falling onto his cheek. I'm not safe if you're not safe. Please hold on. The doctor finally burst into the room, shouting orders. Get a stretcher. We have 2 critical patients. 1 process. Aubrey clung to Declan's hand, both of them shaking. And then her body seized completely. The contraction hit harder than anything before, sharp, blinding, tearing through her like lightning. The doctor froze. She's going into active labor. Now. Declan's eyes widened in horror. Aubrey, your babies. Her scream filled the room, and the world went white. Aubrey's scream tore through the hospital room. Raw and primal. The world spun around her in blinding white as pain radiated through her body, fierce and unstoppable. Nurses scrambled, doctors shouted orders, monitors beeped erratically. The air smelled of antiseptic, blood, adrenaline, fear. Declan, pale and barely conscious, tried to lift himself to reach her. A nurse pushed him gently back down. Sir, you've lost too much blood, please stay still. But Declan shook his head weakly. Aubrey, I need to see her. She can't do this alone. His voice fractured mid-sentence, breath hitching from the pain. Aubrey barely heard him through the contraction, tearing through her. She clutched the rails of the bed as tears streamed down her face. Please, someone help my babies. A doctor rushed to her bedside. Aubrey, focus on my voice. You're at 8 centimeters. You are going into full labor. No, they're early, too early, she gasped. We're doing everything we can, the doctor assured her, adjusting the oxygen mask. But you must stay strong. Your heart rate is spiking, your body is under extreme stress. Aubrey sobbed, shaking her head. I can't. Declan's voice, cracking but urgent, reached her through the chaos. You can. Aubrey, look at me. She turned her head, vision blurry. Declan lay on the stretcher beside hers, hand extended but just out of reach. His face was ashen, his side bleeding through bandages, but his eyes, those steady, determined eyes, were locked on her. You're the strongest person I've ever met, he whispered. You survived, Jason. You survived tonight. You can survive this. You can bring them into the world. Another contraction hit stronger, sharper, dropping her into a wave of pain so deep she almost blacked out. Declan, she cried. I'm here, he said, voice trembling. I'm not leaving you. Experian. Rowan burst into the room, disheveled, furious, eyes wet but fierce. Mercer is detained. Armed guards are on every entrance. He's not getting near you again. Ever. Aubrey could barely process her words. She clung to the one lifeline she had, Declan's voice. The doctor checked again. She's crowning. We need to move now. Move? Aubrey gasped. Move where? To the operating room, the doctor said. One of the babies is breech. We're heading for an emergency C-section. Aubrey's blood ran cold. No. Declan reached farther, ignoring the nurse's attempt to restrain him. His hand brushed hers. "I know it's terrifying," he said, "but they're fighters, just like you." Tears streamed down her face. "Don't let me lose them." "You won't," he whispered. "I swear." Staff rushed around them, unlocking brakes, preparing to roll both stretchers. Rowan stepped forward, gripping Aubrey's shoulder. "We're with you every second. You're not alone anymore." To action. Then the room abruptly stilled. Every monitor flatlined for half a second. Lights flickered. Machines reset. A hospital-wide surge. The doctor's face drained of color. "No, no, stay online, stay." The fetal monitor blinked off. Aubrey froze. "Why can't I hear them?" she whispered. The doctor tapped the screen. "It's rebooting, give it a moment." The monitor flashed back to life. But only one heartbeat appeared. Aubrey's scream filled the room. "Where's the other one? Where's my baby?" Declan struggled upright, horror on his face. "No, God, no." The doctor leaned over the screen, breathing sharp. "We're losing one twin prep or now." Aubrey sobbed uncontrollably as her stretcher began to move. "Please save them, please." Declan reached after her as she was wheeled away, his voice breaking for the first time that night. "Aubrey, don't give up." The doors slammed between them. And for the first time all night, Aubrey Lawson felt the terrifying cold of losing one child before they ever took their first breath. Aubrey drifted back to consciousness slowly, as if rising from the bottom of a dark ocean. Bright, sterile lights came into focus. A steady beeping filled her ears. Something warm rested against her hand. When she turned her head, she saw Declan slumped in a chair beside her hospital bed, arm bandaged, exhaustion etched across his face but alive. She blinked, emotion swelling in her throat. You're here," she whispered. His eyes opened instantly, filling with relief and something deeper. "I told you I wasn't going anywhere." Before Aubrey could speak, a soft cry echoed from a nearby bassinet. A nurse stepped forward, smiling gently. "Both twins are stable," she said. "It was close, but they're fighters, just like their mother." Aubrey's breath broke into a sob. She reached for the tiny bundle the nurse placed in her arms, a baby boy, eyes shut tight, chest rising and falling with miraculous strength. Another nurse brought the second twin, smaller but breathing steadily. Declan wiped his eyes discreetly. "They're perfect." Aubrey held her children, overwhelmed. For the first time in months, hope didn't feel dangerous, just warm. The door opened. Rowan stepped inside, expression fierce and triumphant. "I thought you'd want to hear this. It's a matter heft." Aubrey tensed. "Jason?" Rowan nodded. "He's done. Completely. And it's not just the attempted murder charges. The SEC, DOJ, IRS, they're all on him. The evidence Sienna tried to hide? It was enough to bring down every member of his conspiracy." Aubrey swallowed. "Is he going to prison?" "For a very long time," Rowan said. "No bail, no plea deal, no leverage." His board voted him out within hours. Mercer Tech collapsed by morning. Bankruptcy filings went public at 6 a.m. If freshed. A slow, shaking breath escaped Aubrey's lips. Jason had finally lost. Not because she fought him, but because truth had finally outrun him. Rowan stepped closer, softer now. "Aubrey, you survived a man who's broken many people. You saved yourself, and you saved your children." Aubrey nodded, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Declan moved closer, placing a hand gently on her arm. "There's something else." Her heart fluttered. "What is it?" Declan took a careful breath, emotion cracking through his usually controlled voice. "While you were in surgery, I realized something I should have known earlier." Aubrey stared at him, breath caught in her chest. "I don't just care about you because I wanted to protect you," he said softly. "I care about you because I—" He broke off, overwhelmed for a moment. "Then, I love you, Aubrey." Her heart stopped, then started again in a softer rhythm. "I love your strength, your courage, your heart. And if you'll let me, I want to be part of your family. Not to replace anyone, not to take over, just to stand beside you. To raise these babies with you. To give you the life you deserved all along." Aubrey felt something inside her, something bruised and frightened, finally unclench. She reached for his hand. "Declan, you already saved us. You never asked for anything. You never demanded. You just stayed." He smiled, eyes wet. "I'll always stay." Rowan cleared her throat and stepped out quietly. granting them privacy. Declan knelt beside the bed, lowering his voice. I know this isn't a proposal yet, not formally, but one day, when you're ready, I'll ask you again. Properly. Because you deserve a marriage built on safety, respect, and love. Aubrey leaned her forehead against his. I think, one day, I'll say yes. The twins stirred softly, as if agreeing. The world outside continued in its chaos, but in that room, everything finally felt right. Aubrey Lawson had survived hell. She had brought 2 lives into the world. She had broken free from a monster, and she had found someone who saw her heart and cherished it. For the first time in her life, she could finally breathe. And this time, she wasn't breathing alone. And just like that, our story comes to a close. If you're still here with me right now, then something in this journey touched your heart in a way that words alone can't explain. Maybe it was Aubrey's strength, or the reminder that even in our darkest nights, we're stronger than we think. You know, the Stoic Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And maybe tonight, this story helped you see that your struggles aren't signs of weakness. They're proof that you're still fighting, still evolving, still choosing to live. Aubrey found her freedom, her truth, and a love that honored her. And life can offer that to any of us when we stop letting fear speak for us. So, if this touched you, even a little, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs strength tonight, and subscribe so we can keep walking through more stories together. Stories that remind us we're never alone, even when life feels impossibly heavy. You being here means more than you think. Thank you for staying. Let's keep healing. One story at a time.